أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Inshallah you're all doing well and finding yourselves in states of God consciousness. So I wanted to, I guess, just present a brief summarization of some of my thoughts and reflections as I was looking at some verses for myself, which are from chapter Al-Hajj, verses 66 to 63 to 66, inshallah. So the first verse says, "Are you not aware that it's God who sends down water from the skies, whereupon the earth becomes green? Verily God is subtle, all aware." So as I was approaching these verses and this verse, coming to the Qur'an as one feeling the need for guidance for myself to make sense of my life and existence, with that premise there, and not having been able to figure it out by myself on my own. So this, it says, "Are you not aware that it's God who sends down water from the skies?" It starts off with a question to draw my attention to what is happening outside of me as well as within me. Starting with my outer world, as I approach this verse, I ask myself, how often do I find myself, reflecting on the phenomena of, an army of small beads of liquid coming from this vast openness. And when they do come and they touch the ground, they act as like elixirs of life to the dead earth around me. And regardless of where and when I may live, I experience this, this unfolding of life in plants and trees and vegetables and fruits and myself. Whether this is, in a simple act as simple as enjoying an apple or watering a plant, or maybe even taking shelter under a tree from the rain. So now I come back to myself, and I can think of myself as this earth or clay or mud that's being referred to here, that becomes green with this rain. And every day I find this amazingly complex yet organized system inside of the vehicle that is my body. I am given and sustained with air and quenched with water. My thirst is quenched with water. And so I can try to understand that the reference to the skies here to mean not only that which quenches the thirst of the earth, but also as something beyond my grasp, in that it extends far beyond my power when it rains, for example. I have no command over such an act or the ability to bring forth the life that is manifest after it rains. And as a human being, I find that I am in need of guidance, such guidance that is able to quench the thirst of the earth of my spirit, if you will, so that I can become green as well. And just as I experience the flourishing of the earth around me, with life coming through it via a means that I can actually experience in my life, rain, right? My spirit is also in need of guidance so that it can flourish as well, so that it doesn't dry out. So it draws my attention to this sort of need that I have within me that I even, come to the Qur'an asking for guidance in terms of how to make sense of my life. And when it says, verily God is subtle aware, what it made me think of was, do I think that even for a second that I am left alone? That the one who runs this orderly, vast, and complex universe and brings life through masses and clouds and billows of water should not tend to my needs, that he should not be aware of them, that he should not know the intricacies of the thirst or need of my human quality or my human spirit. And he should not be aware, or he should not be able to quench this need as he does with all life around me that benefits from rain. And then it continues, unto him belongs all that is in the heavens and all that is on earth. And verily God, he alone is self-sufficient, the one to whom all praise is due. So, in the order I observe in the universe, I notice that everything is in need and also dependent on something. Whether, like zooming out, whether this is a relationship of the earth to the sun and other planets or stars, or perhaps, the relationship of the moon to the oceans or the ecosystem, or perhaps like the relationship of plants and animals and humans in ecology, or even like within the human being, the relationship of like the respiratory or digestive systems, as well as other systems, down to like what are the organs, tissues, cells, atom or matter, whatever they are, or in every level of this system that I am a part of, that I experience, that I am within, everything is subject to the order and dependent. Nothing, as I see it, can function by itself. And so it is constantly in need of another. And I find that like my physical being, like the way that my physical being is in need of sustenance, I also need, compassion, friendship, forms of like intellectual stimuli or an understanding of myself to make sense of my reality and what is going on here. I need guidance. And just as I have no power in determining when and how it rains, I also have no power in attaining answers for myself, within myself, by myself. And, just as a little disclaimer, that's not to say that any guidance that I find, I must in fact make sure that it resonates with what is within me. But if I'm left by myself to solve the mystery of my own existence, I know from experience that I cannot. And so I am in need of such a source that is absolutely independent and wise. And so what I find the claim here to be highlighting is not only the way that things exist in the universe as far as how they're infinitely needy and dependent, but also in a way a diagnosis of my own needs as a human being, to the point of needing a reference for myself that is not subject to change, that is not dependent, that is independent, that knows the most subtle of my thoughts or the desires of my heart and can meet them. So, I need, in a way, it not only poses I find a reflection of what is within myself as far as the need for guidance, but also a diagnosis and a reference to the universe here as pointing to something, as pointing to a sort of rain, if you will, to the drought that I might experience. And then the next verse follows, Are you not aware that it is God who has made subservient to you all that is on earth, and the ships that sail through the sea with his command, and that he holds the celestial bodies so that they may not fall upon the earth otherwise than by his leave. Verily, God is most compassionate towards men, a dispenser of grace. And if I find myself claiming that even for, an inkling of a second, some sort of authority or self-sufficiency in any capacity, really, my gaze here is drawn upon how I find myself in the universe. The ships that it says, the ships that sail on the sea, or anything that is in motion or sailing or on a journey of some sort, is only through his command. And I can extend these ships that it refers to to the planetary bodies, to the constant change that my cells and my body is undergoing at every single moment within me, to essentially everything, because everything is in a sort of constant motion, constant journeying, if you will. And if not for his command, all would come collapsing down on me. So, my breathing that I take for granted, that I cannot maintain, to my vision that I have that I don't even think about, the sense of consciousness, and innumerable other qualities and abilities that I have been given. None of these things none of these things, I'm not maintaining any of them, nor do I really have the power to do so. And in fact, innumerable different processes are taking shape at every single instance of my existence, that it is so seamless. And because of how seamless it is, it's so easy for me not to pay attention to how I am. I don't pay attention to, because it's so perfectly sewn together. In that, like, whether it be my physical health or my inner human abilities, or given capacities like consciousness and reasoning and ability to feel, are in fact and must be maintained by its source. For everything is needy and dependent, and dependent, not independent, just so that's clear. And when it talks about how everything, or the way everything in existence is kind of serving me in one way or another, whether I benefit from the ships that sail through the seas, or the celestial bodies that don't come down on me, I can benefit from them also in terms of the message that they bring to me about my reality. So again, in diagnosing the problem for me, the verses here offer a solution to the remedy as well. Any claims of self-sufficiency and even loneliness that I might find within myself are dispelled, because not only can I make such a claim that I, myself, or anything for that matter, has any sort of command or power over anything else, but I find that there must be an authority and power, that everything I experience must be originating from or emanating from. And a worldview in which I either attribute qualities I experience, like life, to lifeless water, is when I find myself in such a dark and narrow world. Because if I do not attribute these qualities I experience to their rightful owner, then I find myself in a world where everything is out to take care of itself, like my benefit or your demise is to my benefit, in a way, like big fish eats small fish sort of mentality. And there's this great burden in trying to do things beyond my power, because I have to do it, otherwise they're not going to get done. And at the end of the day, I cannot really find anything that can actually meet my need for guidance or for eternal life within this world. So I suffer if I take hold of that worldview, or in other words, if I don't refresh my worldview, if I don't aim to refresh my understanding of my own existence, and utilize the world around me as a signpost, really, to a signpost pointing to an origin that must be so wise, so compassionate, so merciful, Rauf, Rahim. And then followed by this verse, he is the one who gave life to you, then he brings death to you. Then he will give you life again. Surely man is very ungrateful. And so like the rain that is a means of life for the lifeless dry earth, and my spirit that is in need of guidance every day, as these verses kind of highlighted and established, I experience life again and again every moment, whether this is every morning when I wake up from a lifeless like state, or just from one moment to another, or just the way that I have been given life the first time, and I am being given life right now, every moment, I will be given life again after death by the one who must be the source of life, and thereby must be the one who can bring about death and life again. And because of my own forgetfulness, I do take these repeated fulfillment of my needs. Like every day I have needs, or not even every day, every moment I'm in need, even if it's just breathing. I say just, but it's quite crucial. And with the repeated fulfillment of my needs, starting with even my need to exist, I take these for granted. Whereas in fact, I can never really be grateful enough, since I am, by virtue of being a created being, I find myself in the state of being a constant receiver, and a consumer of some sort, of all sorts. So I need to make a conscious choice to take note and reflect on my own experiences of existence, even if it's just a rain. And I say just, but the repeated experience of something should, to myself, I should not take it for granted, because I can utilize it as an experience, or as an opportunity to water my spirit so that it becomes green, by recognizing my need, the necessary source of what I experience, and the reality and promise that I am being taken care of, and there is guidance for me, and I will be taken care of after my death as well, inshallah. So those were just a couple of verses here that I wanted to share some of my reflections and feelings with you all. But inshallah, that's all I have. But if you want to share anything, feel free to, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, H. Beza, for the beautiful presentation. MashaAllah, good reflections, very good reflections. And for a student of the Quran, these are the signs that we can benefit from the Quran from many aspects, and we can share our reflections with others as well and see what they say, what they make a comment on it, and if they have any concerns, inshallah, we would like to hear them. Like this, as HBZ did, we have been doing this for a couple of weeks, and we would like to continue, but for so far, not many people really requested it. Please don't hesitate just to share whatever you like, whatever you enjoy, whatever really has an impact from the Quran. Share it with us around 10 minutes. You can be less, maybe more, a little bit, as HBZ did, perfect arrangement. And if you are interested in doing so, you don't have to be a great scholar on it. Just a layman, what you got from the Quran, share it with us. Inshallah, we will be very happy to hear you next time, next week. And if anybody is interested in, they can send an email to me, and I will know that somebody or you are going to make a presentation next week or the following week or even later. So I will preserve your place, inshallah. Here is my email address, my name, and gmail.com, alimurmer, gmail.com. Please send a message and tell me when you can do it. Now, thank you, Eshbeza, again, for your really meaningful reflections and very effective on the spirit of human beings. So let's come back to the Qur'an section, the Qamar, which is revealed on the 5th year of the mission of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. And we made an introduction, a short, brief background of this time of his life and the people around him, how the relationship were taking place. And then we said the moon is the representation of the celestial bodies, and the emphasis on the moon, as we discussed a little bit, that time is getting really closer and closer, nearer and nearer. And we will talk about it, but at the same time, the moon has split. So we will see what it means, splitting the moon. But before just jumping into the study of the section of the Qur'an, the section Qamar, we said this section necessitates to remind the people around the Prophet at that time, which is also valid for us now, that they were rejecting the Prophet slowly and not really taking the message of the Prophet seriously, though quite a number of people were interested in it. Compared to the society, they were very few that time, but they needed some sort of warning, serious warning. Warning about what? About human nature, human reality, the reality of the universe. So why the Quran usually at the beginning of the revelation uses the verses reminding people that God is severe in punishment, and you have to take the reality of this universe seriously and reality of yourself seriously, so you will really preserve yourself from punishment. The punishment within human spirit, human experience, the punishment, physical punishment as well. So we said we have to discuss. Sometimes warning is more educating than love. Those people deliberately, consciously deciding not to follow this message. They need warning that time. How about ourselves? Do we need, as we use loving God nowadays a lot. So by encouraging through loving relationship rather than warning relationship, why do we think that we need warning as well? Maybe at the beginning of any introduction of a new, completely new message, warning is more necessary. Is it really true that we have to discuss today? Why do we need warning, or do we really need warning? What do you think? Do we human beings need warning rather than just loving relationship? Although we have to be careful, maybe sometimes warning comes out of compassion, loving, out of love. We have to talk about it. Otherwise, we cannot understand the verses that we are going to study. Why God keeps in this section, especially in this section of the Quran, section Qamar, mostly warning. Why? Is it really true? What is your idea? What do you think? I would like to hear you. Do we really need warning? And sometimes more warning than loving relationship, and positive encouragement rather than threatening encouragement. Does it really work, or does it really match human nature? What do you think? I'm just keeping myself, repeating myself, so that giving you the time to decide, to say whatever you want to say, inshallah, whatever you have to say. Okay, H. Beza, thank you. Please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, so I think, I was reflecting on this last week as well, because personally, like if I think of myself in a classroom as a student and my teacher approaches me or punishes me for something as opposed to being more forgiving or compassionate, I was thinking, or giving like a punishment if I don't do X or Y, I would be more cold to the teacher. I might do it. I might do my tasks, but it would be more grudgingly. Like I would not necessarily feel a sort of love or even respect to the teacher if I felt that I was being a victim of some sort. Because I think generally speaking, I think, what they call like positive reinforcement, or kind of, approaching teaching or students, or in any case, students, for example, from a more forgiving or compassionate, or from, in our class, loving as opposed to warning perspective, I think makes a student more perceptive. But at the same time, as we were saying, like in our practical lives, there are, penalties or tickets, in the classroom or in law or in governments and whatnot. But I think a main differentiator here is that my relationship with my creator is not the same as my relationship with the government or the police officer or my teacher per se, because perhaps the way that I was trying to frame it in my mind is warning becomes a sort of, it's not to punish me per se, but rather to guide me to the correct way, because I am doing something wrong that's harming me to begin with. So perhaps the punishment that or the pain that I feel is not just like, ha ha ha, I'm enjoying your suffering, but rather you're doing something wrong that is detrimental to you. And it's like a warning sign. It's a flashing light that's saying wrong way for me, so that I can kind of turn the right way. Otherwise, if it's not that, if that sort of warning is not for my own benefit, then I feel that I don't want this warning if it's not for my own benefit. But if it is for my own benefit, then I welcome it. I guess maybe those are my thoughts in a nutshell. For the purpose that warning serves. Otherwise, I don't want to be punished because I don't like being punished. But if it's for my own benefit and there is wisdom and compassion behind it, then I am willing to accept and also grow from whatever that warning or even that pain or suffering may be.
MashaAllah, thank you. Thank you for your comment. And I shouldn't really spend time on repeating what you said. Everybody heard, and it was again, interesting approach. We have to see what is behind warning. It is just threatening in order to subjugate myself to the one who threatens me, or for my benefit. I think this is the essential question I understood from your message, alongside what the other aspects, but this was the most important aspect point in your discussion. Now, HM, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. What I wanted to say was that the warning should be there. When we love, like with love, when I love God, there's a lot of mercy, there's a lot of compassion. But if there's no like element of like I feel like the warning is that element of having respect for Allah. Like, even if you love someone or love something, like you kind of fall into the pitfall of just like a falling behind. Like, you can love Allah so much, but like one day you're like, you know what, like, let me delay my prayers a little bit. Like, Allah is merciful. He knows that I love him. That's love. But that having that warning, like knowing that Allah is also, you know, can punish you, like that fear is also important, to have that respect for Allah, so you don't take advantage of his compassion, so you don't take advantage of his mercy. That's all I have to say.
Excellent one. What you said reminded me. Your mic is still open. Yeah, you can open it whenever, or unmute yourself, HM, unmute yourself when you want to speak. Your mic is unmuted still, HM. When you want to say something, please unmute yourself. Now, what I want to understand is, you say, I'm not competing with you, by the way, but to make this case clear, I love God, but God doesn't warn those people who believe in it. He is very compassionate, very merciful, very promising, very encouraging to those who believe in him. But warning is directed not generally, all the time, those people who are obstinate and never wants to reconsider what they think right or wrong, but straight away deny it with no reasoning, no real base for their denial. So warning is directed to those people who don't even take into consideration what the reality of their being is in this world. Do these kind of people really need warning? But as you said, this is the very, very general, way of discussing this matter. We love God, but we have to be respectful to him. Yeah, after loving God, you understand who God is, and you and I we have to be respectful to him, because he is the creator and freely creates everything, as the universe witnesses to his freedom, absolute freedom. And if we are not careful not to deviate from the truth, then we may be subject to his punishment. And we may even not realize really, if we are not careful about the consequences of our choices. That is why I understood that after loving God, we may take warnings for ourselves as well in order to not lose our respect to him. That is the correlation between warnings, threatening language used in the Quran to the non-believers. How about the believers? What do they take out of it from these warnings? They take it for themselves from their perspective, as a believer's perspective. So we cannot take the perspective as believers that, these words are for us. But this is a warning for me too, if I am not on the right track and deviate from the truth. That is a reminder for me as well. But as a believer, I receive endless reward from his compassionate news in his speech. Do you imagine, or can you imagine, the description of paradise, description of God's forgiveness for those people who repent? Oh, it is full. But at the same time, for those people who resist not to submit themselves, again, the Quran is full of warning and threat of description of the horrible description of, unbearable description of hell. Why? To keep the balance, but addressee of two news are different. It doesn't mean that the believers shouldn't be concerned with the warning verses of the Quran, and non-believers should not pay attention to the good news, promising news for the believers, because human beings need two sides. But which one really takes the priority? Accordingly, they are alarmed about the news of the Quran, speech of God, concerning their situation directly. So the believers say, I believe in God, and start seeing that what is God promising to the believers. And the non-believers, of course, will say, what is God promising in this scripture? They don't believe that this is God's speech in this text. For me, they take it to themselves. But at the same time, we, at the background of this priority attentions paid to the certain verses of the Quran, at the background of this attention, we can make the comparisons as well. For the believers, these kind of news are for the believers. It is also related to them, for the non-believers. And for the believers, the threatening verses also related, but at the background. Now, Afshan Haq, please. I'm anxious to listen to you. I love you, but now Afshan Haq, please go ahead.
Well, when you asked the question, Doctor, I thought the first thing I thought of was a parent, because I see parents teach their children in both ways. They teach the child with negative reinforcement and positive reinforcement. And definitely under both conditions, I see there is love. So I like how you said earlier that even the warning comes with love. And I see the parent will see the situation and know whether to reinforce with love or with a punishment or warning or a threat or whatever, and both are effective. And that's it. That's what I thought of.
Thank you. Excellent. So we see that mother and father, well, parents, get angry with their children sometimes, but at the same time, the mother is feeding the baby or the children. Father is working for them, but at the same time bringing food and necessary nourishments and shelter, providing everything what they need. But at the same time, when they speak, they may use threatening language. Now, thank you, good point, very good point. We have to try to see in each section of the warning and encouraging, supporting verses, we have to see that the warning verses is out of compassion of the Creator, so that he's really describing so severe hell conditions or punishment in the world as well, while we are living in this world. Of course, we will study how this punishment will be experienced within ourselves. That is, I think, to be studied while we are going through the verses. Now, that is reserved. But when we see that the threatening verses in the hereafter, as well as here, we are going to destroy you all, for example, with a severe punishment, sudden, unexpected punishment. There are very many verses like this. We have to see that this is out of compassion for us. And at the same time, on the flip side of the matter, all the beautiful descriptions of paradise and beautiful experience of the relaxation, satisfaction, confidence in our existence through belief, which is to be rewarded in the form of paradise in the next creation. That is how the Quran presents the case to us. This beautiful description seems to be only love, if you like, encouragement. No, there is something behind it. If you do not be honest, if you are not honest within yourself, what are you going to lose? Do you know? All these beautiful rewards of God's mercy. So we say, oh, can I lose it really? Now it is at the background, always at the background works something. Another program is working there at the background. So we have to keep in mind. Afshan, have your hands up if you want to continue to discuss or to say something. Of course.
I forgot to take it down. I'll take it down now.
Okay, thank you. But doesn't matter. Just, I shouldn't confuse that Afshan Haq. I can do it for you. Yep, I did it. But when you want, again, we can raise. Let me see what's written in chat box. No. A friend who's called Akabe, according to my experience in my life, warning works more. In any situation, not necessarily religious warning for anything, for example, losing the money or really, for example, losing your profession, your job, your, for example, business, going into bankruptcy. This fear makes you take much more serious precautions not to fall into bankruptcy like that, like this event. That's correct. Monica, if I'm not mispronouncing it, I'm sorry if I do. We need this discernment. There is definitely the need for discernment. Yeah, not so much warning. If warning is a threat, then it doesn't reflect the ability to discern. Now, Monica, yeah, that's an excellent point. But you said something else. Let me read that one as well. Yes, because no one can learn in the condition of threat. Yeah. Let's talk about it. It is a interesting point. Interesting point. I wasn't really intending to discuss this part, but it didn't occur to me. But thank you for reminding me that there is another aspect of this subject, which is very much debated on. Qur'an is Qur'an, the God of Qur'an. We hear this a lot from certain quarters. The God of Qur'an is a threatening God, angry God. Is it really so? Yes, there are threatening verses that we are going to read now, many of them. But is it an angry God or is it a compassionate God? But what you said here in the second section of your message, because no one can learn in the condition of threat. Excellent point. I agree with you 100%. But let me, if you don't mind, I will give you a little bit long example, which I use a lot because it is beautiful. It makes sense to me. It reflects the reality of our life. What do you think? All of us, if I am mistaken, please correct me. All of us, what do you think the people want to learn a profession, go to school? What is the main point in it? Yes, of course, they want to learn. But at the same time, why they want to learn? To be successful. Why do they want to be successful? Because they don't want to be in a terrible position, financially, social status. They don't want to be in these positions. So they want to have a better life conditions because they don't want to fall down or fall back from the society. So for example, who loves to work, for example, in a job they pays only $10 an hour? Who wants to be in this position rather than having, for example, $50 or $100 an hour work? So we want to save our life and get a profession, secure your future in a better position so that you won't be in need of other people's help. So you will be self-sufficient. After enrolling the school, after coming to the school, now the learning process starts. Do we have to keep still threatening them? No, but from time to time, the teachers, the professors, whatever, they say, if you don't submit the assignment until the deadline, then you will fail. Why do they say that? Is it the encouragement? Yes, it is. To keep your pace with the learning process. You shouldn't fall behind it. But this is a kind of warning for you. If you don't do it, if you don't pay attention to the class and learn it, and if you neglect the assignments, you will fail. Oh, this is a threat, isn't it? But at the same time, while you are learning, they keep saying that if you don't understand, please ask. Don't hesitate. Don't be shy. Here I am. If you don't understand in the class I teach you in the classroom, come to my office or go to my assistant and get the support from the instructors, etc., etc. Encouragement. During the learning process, although during the learning process, encouragement is in the front. At the background, if you don't, you will fail, is the warning. So it works both sides together, depending on the position of the person. If someone keeps his promises as a student, that he will do it, whatever is required of him or her, she or he will do it, and what the professor says, always positive. That is what the Quran does. If the context allows to speak to the believers, always encouragement, always encouragement. But if the context is for the unbelievers, which is the case in the section Moon that we are studying, as we discussed, it was revealed on the 5th year of the message. It means people were alarmed and started reacting the message bearer, the prophet, reacting it and started really concerning about his insistence in teaching the revelation to those people who are interested in. So at this stage, they are not the learners. They need threat. They need to be reminded what their reality is. Excuse me. We will go through it. We will pay attention to the content of the verses, and the verses presents the message in a certain framework that it is actually encouragement. It is actually encouragement. Those people who take the message to encouragement to the people and reminding them to take the message seriously, because that is your reality. That is your reality. So teaching must be based on loving. For whom? For students who are ready to learn, accept to learn, enroll with the education system. Now, those people who keep resisting, that they are not coming to the school, they are not going to learn. What the parents, for example, encourage the children, the professors, the teachers, encourage the students and say, if you learn, you will have a really promising life, prosperous life in the future. You won't be in need of other people, and you will be a self-sufficient, honorable person who keeps his dignity as a human being, etc., etc., etc. But if someone doesn't listen and doesn't submit, what they need now, look, if you don't learn, you have to have a miserable life. You have to work in the worst working conditions, and you will get almost nothing, a little, but just to survive yourself. You will never feel secure in your life, in this world, speaking about this world, if they resist. Now, we have to read all the verses related to threatening and warning language, reminding people what their reality is, reminding people what the reality of this universe is, so they are transient, they cannot sustain their existence by themselves, and the one who keeps their existence, who sustains their existence, can do everything anytime, and they cannot do anything against his will. They are, as H. Beza discussed this matter in her presentation in the beginning of this today's section, they are always ready to obey the Creator's will. They cannot have an independent will. They don't have an independent will, like ourselves. We have will only within the limits of the order of the universe. Can we have any choice? Can we have any choice to not obey the order of the universe? Is it possible? Can you please think about it? Can we have any choice not obey the order of the universe? Is it possible? We choose within the order of the universe. We are totally subject to the order of the universe. Even some people, of course, in history, some people tried this. They said, I'm not going to obey God. He decided to send me to this world. It means gave me life and existence in this world. But I am going to experience that with a very famous, everybody knows him, very famous philosopher, and committed suicide, saying that I am going to give an end to my life. I am not going to let God, if there is such a thing, because he didn't believe. If there is such a thing, I'm not going to let him to decide about the end of my life, death. And what he did, he committed suicide. How? By obeying the order of the universe. It means by obeying the will of the universe. You cannot go beyond it. The Quran clearly states this. You cannot go beyond the limits of the order of the universe. Impossible. Because you are a created being, you are 100% absolutely dependent on the will of the Creator. What does it mean? He can operate us as he wills. He gave us freedom. Yeah, this is also, this free will method is extensively studied by the philosophers. They went from one end to the other extreme end. They said we are absolutely free to do something. Some of them said we have no freedom at all. Depending on the perspective they are approaching the subject, they took one aspect of the matter. But the Quran says, yeah, I gave you the freedom to choose from among what I provided for you within the order of the universe. You cannot go beyond my will. But within my will, you may choose. You are given the ability to choose. You are free to choose. That's why we understand from the teachings of the Quran, this is a very balanced way of understanding free will. So we can really locate ourselves within the word. We have to know that. We have to take God's warning, God's reward, all the goodness, all the threateningness, everything within our life conditions. That's why starting from next week, we are going to study. After this introduction, we will know that what we are talking about really seriously. So all the threatening verses, we will see the compassion behind it working and reminding us our reality, rather than really threatening that, look, whatever you do, I can do everything to you. No, no, no. If you choose this way, the consequence of your choice, according to the order of my will, that I put the universe within this order, you will torture yourself. You will not have any security in your life because you did not accept the truth. Although your very existence submits to the will of the Creator, very existence, you cannot go beyond the order of the universe. But if someone thinks that I'm not really subject to the order of the universe, I can do everything. In fact, in reality, he cannot really disobey the order of the universe. If he chooses not to accept this reality, he tortures yourself. That is what reminding, warning, threatening verses want to teach human beings that what is wrong with you? Why do you torture yourself? Why don't you accept your reality? All the threatening words are related to human misconception of their reality. That's what we are going to call section, and next week we can just go into the verses directly. Let me see. Monica's, it is not possible to disobey God. It means, Monica, thank you, but let's not use some accepted concepts. Let's say it in this way. It is not possible to disobey the order of the universe, which consequently means it is not possible to obey the will of the Creator of this order. Do you see what I mean? We always speak by establishing our conclusions through our real life experiences and then reaching the conclusion. For example, if someone says it is not possible to disobey God, if someone is not ready to understand what you mean, they will say, oh, I am doing anything I want. I don't listen to God's will at all. I am just disobeying God. Even I'm denying his existence. He thinks that he is really disobeying God. So what we should say, what we use the language is, that is the main purpose of this class. Without evidence, without bringing the evidence into our discussion, we should never come to the conclusion and talk from the perspective of conclusion. For example, if someone says, as you said, Monica, I'm not criticizing you. We are learning here. We are learning. So what is the difference between this sentence? It is not possible to obey God, disobey God, sorry. But how about it is not possible to disobey the order of the universe? Therefore, the one who established the order of the universe, therefore, this one is the one ultimately I am obeying his will. Ultimately, I am obeying his will. The one who established the order of the universe is called God. That's what we believe. So we don't take it for granted, the belief of God. We have evidence. So we have to get used to using this language, speaking through establishing the evidence as a base of our arguments. That is what we need nowadays. People always think that, oh, we accepted God with no evidence, but just as a tradition, as Muslims or somebody who accepted Islam for some reason, whatever it is. And then they keep repeating the word God without really knowing what they are talking about. They think. And also, the people need evidence, especially nowadays. So we have to present our evidence first and then base our argument on it and conclude what we believed, what we are convinced about. Here it is, your sentence is wonderful. Your sentence is wonderful. It is not possible to disobey God. Perfect, really? So let me read what you wrote even further. Because God's will is one, therefore there is no conflict within it. People try through. Great lesson. Thank you. I appreciate your teaching. Yeah, thank you very much, Monica. And I would like to hear your comments. Even if you speak, I would be really very happy. What we are doing here to learn even how to read the Quran on real life evidence and experiences. Read the Quran on our real life experiences. That is what we want to learn here, rather than using the pre-accepted vocabulary. Thank you very much. Thank you. I mean, we are learning all together from each other. You remind me something that we need discernment. Yeah. Okay. For example, your previous comment was excellent and remind me an interesting point, so that we need to share it. Thank you very much. And I would like to hear more from you. And especially I would like to receive email from you, almurmur@gmail.com, that coming week or in a month or whatever you feel comfortable, for 10 minutes. If you say, I cannot really present 10 minutes, I have a very interesting point for me, and it takes only 5 minutes. Welcome. Don't worry about it. No, I cannot express myself within 10 minutes. I have a lot to say. I need 20 minutes. Welcome. Just join, inshallah. In this way also, we will get used to expressing ourselves and sharing our understandings with our friends here. Thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. بحرمة سر سورة الفاتحة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم